Welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show that is dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So this is my Monday night show, which is look back at a classic rock album, and we're going to be doing this one this week. The Doors' debut album, which came out in 1967 on January the 4th. From Sunset Studio Recorders in Hollywood, California. 43, almost 43 and a half minutes long on the Elektra label, and done by Paul A. Rothschild was the producer. Okay, so featured on this album, of course, Jim Morrison on vocals, that's him on the cover. Ray Manzarek on organ, piano, bass, backing vocals on and Marshallphone on the Alabama song Whiskey Bar. And then Robbie Krieger, guitars and bass on Soul Kitchen. And he also did, he did bass on Backdoor Man as well. And he also did backing vocals on the Alabama song. John Densmore was the drummer, and he played backing vocals on the Alabama song as well. And then for the additional musicians that appeared on this album, we had Larry Knechtel, who played bass on Soul Kitchen, 20th Century Fox, Light My Fire, I Look at You, and Take It As It Comes. So, a little history about this album. This was the first Doors album I ever saw, actually. My friend bought it. And he was an avid fan of these guys. He had their albums and then he had their CDs. But of all the bands he introduced me to, this was the one band I didn't like. I didn't like them. I said, their music is so, I used to say, it's so tacky. It's like, look at those Bon Teppy keyboards, and the lyrics make no sense. It kind of sounds like it should be on a television show for kids or something, right? I just didn't like it at all, and for a long time whenever he would put it on, I'd say, cut that crap, get that off, right? So it was the only album that he ever introduced me to that I didn't like, and I think that stayed that way for a very long time. Every once in a while I would listen to them, because when I got into once I was married and had my daughter and that, when I got into that age bracket, I started thinking that, I should give some of these albums a better try. That was around the time, prior to that, I used to have a 5-album ranking system. So I had master albums, level 1s, level 2s, level 3s, level 4s, actually was, and level 5s. So level 1s were basically masterpiece albums, and there was qualifications to get that. Level 2, which was level 1, also needed classifications to get that. And then you had 2s and 3s, which didn't need any really classification, more of a how I felt about the album on a given day. So the masterpiece albums, of course, were like the best albums out there, and then you got your really, really excellent albums for 1, really very good for 2s and good for 3s, and then I had okay for 4s and crap for 5s. But I did away, around the time my daughter was born, I did away with that classification system, and I just had masterpiece albums, which had qualifications and were my favorite albums. Level 1s, which were excellent. Level 2s, and also had qualifications for them. And level 2s were usually albums I liked quite a bit, and they just were waiting around for their chance to be qualified as 1s, or if they may have slid back a little bit towards the bottom of the 2s and jumped into the 3s. 3s were good albums that eventually some of them moved up, some of them dropped back a little bit, but once they were a 3, they were rated, and they wouldn't never not be rated again. But the level 4 and 5, the level 4 I did away with. Level 5s I kind of did away with too. There's only 2 albums in that Level 5. I don't like either of these albums. I've never liked either of these albums. I don't want to hear them ever again. One of them I actually own. And, people are going to ask me, what are they? So I'm going to tell you, and I'm probably going to take some hits for this. I cannot stand Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell. I never want to hear that album again. I never liked it to begin with. It got overplayed in my household by people I didn't like, and so I grew to detest the album. It's by far the album I like the least. The other one is Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. I just think that it's an overrated piece of junk. And at the time when I first heard it, I liked it, and then it went quickly downhill. It's on my shelf here. I never take it off the shelf. I don't even know why it's on here. So those are the only two. Every other album that isn't a 3, 2, 1 or masterpiece is unrated. And the reason I do that is because of albums like this one. What happens is that I listen to them. They're not really penetrable, so rather than just say I don't like them, and then once you say you don't like something, there's a real, at least with me, there's a real part of me that says, I don't like that album. I'm not going to bother on it. I never give it another chance. But there's lots of groups: Pink Floyd, Jethro Tull, Alice Cooper, Gentle Giant. All these groups I didn't really like at the beginning, but I never rated them, so they're back in the rating bin. And then eventually I grew to like all of these bands, and now the Doors are one of those bands too, that in the last year I've really grown to like this band a lot, because I think what's happened is I've matured a lot, and I look at music a little differently, and of course my taste in music has changed a lot. I didn't really like psychedelic or acid rock or anything like that, and this is very much like that. And so in the last year I've really kind of moved towards liking psychedelic music a lot. I like this album. I like this album. This is one of my favorites right now. This album I just bought. I like this a lot. And for those of you who can't read it, this is Ozric Tentacles. Yeah, some really good psychedelic albums out there, and there's others too, but I just show you an example of some of the stuff I've been getting into. So this album is actually quite good. Definitely will get a fairly high rating. It's already a 2 now, likely going to move up. And so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about. See, the thing about this album is it is quite psychedelic. The lyrics are really good, of course. Some of the songs are really memorable, and I find myself singing them now during the day, where before that would never ever happen. So, Break On Through, fantastic song. Soul Kitchen, I love this song too. The Crystal Ship, maybe not as much. 20th Century Fox, this is another one I sing in all the time. I find myself singing all the time. Alabama Song or Whiskey Bar, if you really, really catchy tune. I just love it a lot. Light My Fire, of course, that's the big hit, I think, on the album. Really good song too. Backdoor Man, yeah, there's a song that I never listened to before this album, and before I started getting into these guys, and now I just love this song as well. There's not really much on here I don't like. I Looked at You, End of the Night, Take It As It Comes, The End. Like, all these songs are pretty decent, what they call deep cuts. This album is definitely destined to move fairly high up. And I now have all the Doors albums. And that only happens because I went a couple times. I was at yard sales, and one guy had like 3 or 4 of them. And I thought, I wonder if these are all studio albums. And I took them, and I bought them all, and I took them home. They're all in pretty good shape too. And of course 3 of them were studio albums, and one of them was like Greatest Hits or something, I can't remember. And then this one I got at a local thrift shop. And then I have another one that I bought also at a local shop. So I got 5 of their 6 albums for next to nothing, And what a steal! This is such a great album. once this one goes off the playlist, I will definitely go on to the number 2 one. Oh, actually, number 2 is the one I don't have, so I've been looking for that one. Anyways, just a really, really solid album. And it wouldn't have happened if I had stuck with my old rating system, because I used to find that once an album got rated as okay, or I don't really like it, I would never pick it up again. It wasn't until I changed it into, okay, from now on, they either make the top 3, or they either make at least a 3, or they get thrown back into the rating bin until such a time as my ear is ready for them. And I've done that now with a lot of albums that have actually come back. Even recently, I bought The Wall. This was an album that was pretty close to being on that level 5. But in recent years, I haven't heard it much and I haven't listened to it much. So I saw it someplace for about $6 or $7, and it was one of the Pink Floyd albums I didn't have. So I thought, you know what? Against my better judgment, I'll get it anyways. So I got it. I actually listened to the entire album, and for the first time, I said to myself, you know what? This isn't really that bad. I don't think it's as bad as I originally thought it was. I know some of you are out there going, The Wall? Are you kidding me? Yeah, I didn't like it. Sorry, I never liked it. So I've learned that if you don't judge them harshly, they may come back and be of benefit to you in the end. So there you have it. Today's diatribe and album of the day, The Doors debut album. Great album. Now just it's on my playlist for like 5 months. I don't see it coming off anytime soon at the moment. So I hope that you like this episode. Maybe some of the explanations maybe make a little more sense to you, the way I do things. I hope so. If you do, please subscribe. It's much appreciated. What is your experience with The Doors? What do you think of them as a band? I think they're much better than I gave them credit for. So anyways, I hope you have a good evening, and we will be back next Monday with another classic look back at a classic rock album. Bye.